So first of all, I would like to thank you all for giving me this opportunity to be with you today. Now, yeah, I think the video is now on. Okay, so I would like to share with you some thoughts about, first of all, an overview of the steel industry, the technology, some global trends that can help us in the next young professional in steel industry scope. I would like to talk also about exciting career opportunities. Also shed some light about the empowering of female young professionals in the steel industry, and a section that I used, some of the quotes of young professionals in steel industry to give us some insights about the challenges faced in the early career years, and also some tip advices to benefit from. At the end, I would like to finish with a glimpse of the future of steel industry, talking about some modern trends like green steel, digitalization, recycling, and waste management. Okay, so for an overview of steel industry, actually, as we all may be encountering in the steel industry or around the world, there are three basic routes to obtain finished steel products. First, the integrated steel production, the secondary processing, and the direct reduction. And this layout figure shows us how these three routes can come together. The first one, the blast furnace, and in this one, it's very actually contaminating, and in such case, it's responsible for around 70% of the global steel production. Here, the iron ore, limestone, coals come into the blast furnace, and maybe also integrated with a basic oxygen furnace, BOF, and then comes to the ladle refining, then continuous casting, to the semi-finished products, and the final products, which can differ like long products, flat products, and so on. The other route is using the scrap metals, and which goes directly to the electric arc furnaces and then to the ladle refining, and this route takes around 30% of the global steel production. There is another route which uses the DRI or HBI also, which is the compacted form of the DRI, sponge iron, and this one it takes like 5% of the global steel production share, and this also comes to the electric arc furnace, and the same cycle up to the finished products. So if we talk about the how the steel industry expands in every bit of our daily life, and the industry, how it's very diverse. There is around 52% of the steel industry that goes into buildings and infrastructure, around 16% for the machinery, around 12% in the automotive industry. Metal products takes around 10%, and 5% for other transport industries, and 3% electrical equipment, 2% of domestic appliances. Okay. In buildings and infrastructure, it is the main products that are important are rebars, H-beams, other shapes like pipes and sheet piles, galvanized steel sheets, other coated sheets for roofing, for example, heavy and medium plates, steel sheets, other secondary and tertiary wire rod products, So these are the diverse products that comes for building and infrastructure. For the machinery, the components are made by cutting and welding of steel plates, sheets, pipes, bars, specialty steels, and high function steels. For the automotive industry, normally hot dips, galvanized steels, electrogalvanized, galvanneal steel sheets, and specialty steels are then used. In this infograph, it's important to think about how steel industry comes in every bit of our life, and how diverse it is. And if we look at this as well, combined with the last figure, we can see that sheet accounts for sheet metals accounts for 31% of the steel shipments by product range. Next to it comes the plate and rebars, then the wire rods and bars, and then pipes and tubes. From 2012 till last year, the world crude steel production jumped around 3.7% increase in the global market, and this actually confirms that steel production is still, or steel industry is ever growing. It's not something that is like some people say, well, it is diminishing. The steel industry is coming to an end and is substituted by other maybe more advanced technologies or maybe more advanced materials. But actually, it's still coming, and steel is coming in every bit of our of industry, and it's still increasing and growing. Now let's move on to the young professionals in steel industry, and actually what I just maybe overwrapped around the steel industry in very short brief, just to come to this point, actually to feed in this particular point about young professionals. And what are the career opportunities? If we talk about, if you think what is out there for us, for the young professionals, also is there any chance for women in the steel industry to be to have fair chances in the steel industry? The challenges and tips, and actually for this part, I used a lot of survey results or survey feedbacks from colleagues and young career engineers. So let's move on and see what are the exciting opportunities that may be beneficial for young professionals. According to the EU, well, these are the most demanded jobs in steel sectors, and if we look at how diverse these are, coming from metallurgical engineers, R&D engineers, data analysts, data governance specialists, application engineers, energy engineers, quality technicians, welders, maintenance, automation engineers, process engineers, design, production managers, IT developers, electrician, mechanics, machinists, metallurgists and furnace and mill operators, structural steel technicians. It's very diverse, and this can help us actually when we think when we involve or get involved in steel industry, in which sector we will be studying more, which sector can we develop our learning. So it's quite diverse, and also it can be very promising to many of us. in this part now, I feel like, well, it's better to hear from the peers. It's better not to just, because for me, it's an academic experience most of the way. Some projects we ran with collaboration with the industry, but still, to hear from the peers, the challenges they faced through their early careers, I think it's a valuable experience. So now I will just transfer this, and I hope this may help some of the young professionals now, or young career developers to develop their own experience. So, for example, here we start with Engineer Muhammad Karoum. He is a quality control engineer. He said, well, actually, the main challenges and difficulties through his early careers was the main hesitation and fear of choosing inconvenient fields or departments, and to fit into the company culture without being influenced by bad work habits and attitudes of the environment around him. Maybe he said that his enthusiasm and diligence to do his best were encountered or tested maybe here with his new teammates' comfort zones. So he needs to take some tough decisions. To learn about new processes and procedures, and the lack of knowledge of job descriptions, objectives, and key performance indicator KPIs. This was his experience in the challenges. The piece of advice he gave us is to make sure you understand your goals from your first day, to ask for help. It's not weak to ask for help, as he says, and you may need to ask the experts or colleagues to help you if you need. Also, he advised to know your job description and objectives, to identify the stability zones to help you find peace and stability in your new environment, and not to take it personally. And this advice may be fitting for us all. And remember to take time to establish trust between you and your colleagues. So this is from Muhammad Karoum. Now Rami Saleh, he is a Chief Business Development Officer in Al Maragbi Steel, and he gave us his piece of advice that he sees a gap between academic study and the market requirements. And he says that the degree is just a start. It's important to learn, to build a logic, analyze, criticize, and innovate. He also put some stress on soft skills, communications, and which are, for his opinion, are crucial. The general knowledge with the statistics, quality assurance, quality control, and also he says these are crucial no matter the job will be. Another engineer from steelmaking plant, Mohammed Bahgat from Aziz Sukhna, he says that he faced some challenges also because of the stress against the gap between the theoretical study and the actual industry, because he says that theoretical study just hits the surface of the steel industry. As he says, he also emphasized the importance to communicate with people with different mentalities, culture, and backgrounds. The high work stress he sees in the beginning, and how fast you have to learn and control the production process in very short times. His main advice is to merge the theoretical study with actual steel industry practice through getting true practical trainings in steel making plants. For the young engineers, he says it's crucial to learn related software programs which would benefit the career. Now with Tarek El Zoghbi, he's a production shift leader, a Swiss steel company. For him, the challenges he faced were always changing prices of the raw materials, affecting the routine tasks and decisions he has to take in the melt shop. Regarding the scrap, the DRI, ferrosilicon, ferromanganese, and all these stuff, and the global rise in refractories prices, as well as electricity and natural gas. well, this is something to make sure we think of. A piece of advice that continuous reading and updating information in the work field is important to be updated with global market trends and enhance the digitalization in steel industry. His piece of advice was also to merge the theoretical study with actual practice through getting true practical trainings and to learn also softwares. For Mohammed Shaheen, he's long steel process control engineer as flat steel. Also, he said here something also like about the knowledge beyond the specializations. For example, he is a metallurgist and he needed to know some mechanical, electrical related issues to understand the whole big picture in steel industry, which is quite complex. He also advised that to do your best to learn everything related to the industry, he also advised about field trips and trainings, which are so important. I think now Wael Sidqi, he is the AIST Steel Suez plant quality control manager. He says that acquiring the experience quickly to take the right decision on time is important. It's expensive to take wrong decisions, so you need to learn. Also, it is somehow a dangerous industry. Safety is important. First people, then safety of equipment, then think about the productivity. Be patient to learn, and if you have to take a decision, you should study it well, as he says. Listen and learn from colleagues, especially seniors, regardless of their career levels. The challenges, I think this is the last one, and this is a little bit informative. For me, it's quite maybe inspiring. He says that as a fresh graduate, he didn't know much about defects appearing in different final products like rebars, wires, rods, and flat steels. The process parameters applied in electric arc furnaces, ladles, caster strip mills as well. This stuff he didn't know about how to understand the defects. It is now mandatory, as he says, to have a technical background, not only in metallurgy, but also in statistical sciences, data analysis, programming, project management, and steel grade cost analysis. He says it's important also to know about international quality management system applied globally, like the ISO certificates, internal procedures, internal and external audits, and claim policies. As well as that, he says that recognizing the technical terms used in the business area, yes, he had this issue with the business terminology, the types of contracts assigned and that kind of stuff. The soft skills, including negotiation skills, managerial skills, problem solving modules, he says it's important. So he advises of summer trainings each year for all in whatever concerned field you like to work in, inspection, maybe cathodic protection, or any fields or other in the steel industry. That's for the tips and advices, and I feel like maybe sharing this with you today can help some of the very young professionals or young careers, and maybe help us all in adjusting our theoretical studies also to help the students for a more lean start. Now I'll move to a glimpse of the future also to maybe take care of new trends in steels. I'll take first of all the green steel, this new term that appeared very recently in the industry. So everybody's talking about how steel is a dirty maybe industry, how it is polluting, how it is the carbon emissions from steel is quite high, and actually the numbers assures that carbon emissions from coal-based steel production is quite high. It accounts for almost 8% of the total global CO2 emissions. And this maybe for 1 ton of final product steel, it gives like 1.5 to 3 tons of CO2, which is quite high. Actually, according to the Paris Agreement, which is this is the roadmap. Now we are approaching very to the 2025 year, and this is something to think about, as now the CO2 emissions need to hit net zero by around 2050 to keep warming below 1.5 centigrade, in line with the goals of the Paris Agreement. Well, and in 2070, they are aiming to limit it below 2 centigrades. Well, actually, this poses obvious questions to the steel industry, and our market now says that in steel sector, we are actually facing major policy challenges, and particularly in the terms of energy and climate. Accounting for up to 8% of global CO2 emissions, we need to integrate carbon neutral steel making into our vision, and to produce green steel products and this is maybe taking and gaining momentum now. The IEA reports that dramatic reductions in CO2 emissions from the iron and steel sector by 2050, if everything went well and all the strategies were applied, then maybe we can see about 54% reduction in the levels of CO2 emissions. And in contrast, it can plateau for the next few decades if we still commit, or we are still in the same line of the strategies for these years. So what are the solutions? How can we what are the routes? What are the opportunities? So now we're talking about that green steel can be it can be produced by helping for recycling, maybe using recycled steel, using DRI, and using hydrogen as the only and the sole reducer, rather than other the methane gas or any CO and these stuff. So to use hydrogen, maybe this is a solution for DRI production. Also, using electric arc furnaces more than before, and to eliminate and integrate electricity more into the industry. Also, the scraps, using the scrap, high quality scrap, this also can help. The electrical energy itself, if it's green electrical energy, then it can help more to reach the goals. So all these strategies, if implemented together, we can say, well, we are on the track. Well, is it possible? I feel like, well, these are maybe trends. Maybe this is pilot thinking, not actual, and maybe it's not. We think that this is not coming into true actions, but actually, what is promising, that countries with the largest low carbon steel investments, for example, the Swedish companies, South Korean companies, German companies, all now took strict decarbonization strategies and targeting very near net zero emissions, and they are now raising wake-up calls for accelerating this transition process. the kind of investments now put in these countries towards low emissions is something considerable. So also, we can see that the steel production landscape is changing. 7 out of the 10 biggest steel producing countries, as well as you saw, it's also countries moving towards greener steel. So far, the projects are concerned in economic regions with ambitious climate reduction targets. We've seen that now Mercedes-Benz, for example, they now have a fully connected, are now connected to the CO2 neutral vehicle fleet, and they say that they will achieve that in 2039, maybe 11 years earlier than the EU legislation. So we hope to see more coming in the near future. That's for now, and I hope that it's nice to see you all now today. And if you have any questions, it will be my pleasure.